Money conversation that pays a big dividend. The WBBM Noon Business Hour continues.
The early season numbers are in, and they show the power of the NFL. Let's take a look at the numbers with Tim Hanlon, founder and CEO of the Vertere Group based in Chicago. Tim, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to take a look at the top 10 Nielsen programs on network television from 40 years ago, and you only had one football program in the top 10, and that was Monday Night Football. And then this week, the entire top 10 list is football, with one exception, that old stalwart 60 Minutes. I mean, football and live sports are really the only things that are holding up broadcast TV at this point.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. I mean, I don't know what that says about the state of broadcast television, either that there's just a shocking decline in large audience-grabbing dramas and comedies and sort of traditional classic primetime fare, and that abandonment has led to major holes in those schedules, and in steps maybe the only thing that distinguishes from streaming opportunities and streaming offerings, and that's live sports. And the king, of course, of live sports for the last decade or two has been the NFL and football generally, frankly. It does spill over in the college and big games as well. But to make no mistake, the live sports thing is a distinct, different, and maybe unique scenario that today most of the streaming operators don't sort of have a handle on yet, although today is an interesting day to be having this conversation, right?
Yes. This is the debut of Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime, and already saw a number of people saying that I should probably figure out how Amazon Prime works this morning as opposed to fumbling around with the smart TV remote tonight. But I do want to ask you, how many parallels exist between this moment and, let's say, 70 years ago when all of the radio network dramas moved over to television? Sports on the radio found a way to make that transition, and radio found a new way to find an audience after the dramas moved to TV. And will we see a similar thing happen with broadcast television, where broadcast TV kind of becomes what local radio used to be, and all the entertainment programs moved to this new technology of streaming?
Yeah, I think it's possible, right? I mean, we see some signals of the decline in the traditional scheduling of broadcast networks, right? The seemingly every 2-year or 3-year float of the idea by NBC to possibly do away with, in Chicago, the 9 o'clock last hour of prime time. We see the decline of just television programming, especially in prime time, across a whole litany of content genres, and just the simple unplugging, if you will, of cables and satellite subscription. Broadcast television is very durable for sure, and the reach of broadcast television, more people can watch it than any other form of video offering out there, streaming included. But the reality is the broadcast television served a purpose for the last, number 50 plus years, right? And it's essentially as a department store, if you will, of programming across all kinds of genres. We're now in a world of niches, right? And streaming is sort of the ultimate expression of that, and personalized at that. And when people can get stuff that they want to watch individually at their fingertips and make choices, that's very hard for quote unquote broadcast television trying to serve a broad audience. And frankly, the only things that really kind of bring broad audiences anymore are things like NFL football games and major events like the Oscars. And even those are in decline. So, that's a relative statement. So it's durable, however, but we'll see how it evolves.
And this is a conversation for another time. Maybe this will be the jumping off point for the next conversation. But what happens it used to be 40 years ago, you would have these hit programs and they would bring in hundreds of millions of dollars in profits to their network, which were then reinvested into program research and development. And yes, you had a lot of, bomb shows like Bring 'Em Back Alive or Voyagers or The Devlin Connection, but that also made Three's Company possible. And what happens when you have much smaller streaming revenues, and how do you develop new programs when there's a lot less money flowing in? in. So that'll be the discussion for the next time. Tim Hanlon, founder and CEO of the Vertere Group based in Chicago. I look forward to having that conversation.